And today, Tony, we are going to be talking about telling your business signature story, because what we say is that words tell, stories sell. So we are going to be covering how to tell the story of your business. One of the things you found is that all the big gurus you follow online, most of them has a story. They always start with their story. If you take somebody like Tony Robbins, he talks about his childhood, growing up, and where he is today. You look at Oprah, of course, she also talks about her story in Mississippi, growing up under her grandmother. One of my recent heroine is actually a lady called Jamie Kern Lima, and she's the CEO of It Cosmetics, which incidentally got sold to L'Oreal Paris for over $1 billion. But what I really admire about Jamie Kern is because of her humility, but also just seeing her story from where she started. She used to be a waitress at Denny's way back when, and then she developed a skin condition, rosacea, I think, and it was really affecting her, and she went on a quest to find a product that would heal her, and in the process found something that was helpful for her, and then she tried to sell it to the mainstream outlets, including QVC and others, and along the way all she got was rejection upon rejection upon rejection. And it's amazing hearing her story, because she says how one of the people who rejected her, one of the financiers that she was hoping would finance her products, he came out right, because she asked him, why did you reject my product? And they said, I'm going to be very honest with you. Our audience will not be able to, our customers cannot buy from somebody who looks at you like you and who has your body image. And I tell you, she said she cried her eyes out, but it didn't stop her. It didn't stop her. In fact, it gave her momentum. And it's so wonderful to hear her story, how she knew inside her that she had a vision, and nothing and nobody could stop her from her vision. And it's really gratifying to hear those kinds of stories, because sometimes we face obstacles in our journey as entrepreneurs. You're always trying to find what is the next way to do something, and sometimes you have your family, they are naysayers, the people around you, they don't even see your vision, and a lot of them try to just discourage you and tell you go back and become an employee, whereas you have a vision, and you know everybody is given their own vision, and nobody can carry your vision, it's only you. And so as an entrepreneur, just hearing these stories, I love the one also from Brendan Burchard, who I've followed for years, and he has a mantra that says, live, love, matter. And he said he had an accident. He thought he was going to die one time. And from that accident, when he survived, he knew he was asking himself questions when he was down, when his car rolled down. And he was asking himself, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? And so sometimes we come upon challenges that help us refocus who we are. And so, and of course, there's another one that I follow, Russell Brunson. He's talked about his potato gun story many, many times. And sometimes you may get tired of your own story before your audience is. Because often when you meet people, if you're a new guru or you're an entrepreneur, people want to know what's your backstory. So every entrepreneur or business should be able to tell their story. Because your story is telling your customers or audience, who are you? You know, you start by telling your story. You can't just start telling people, oh, buy my products, but they don't even know you. They don't know who you are. So you want to be able to tell your story. Your signature story should be able to tell your customer who you are, why you do what you do. That is your origin story. It does not need to be your whole life biography. You know, you don't have to start by, I was born in the village of wherever in the year of our Lord this, you know. You don't you don't have to start there. You just start, you take a segment of your timeline, how you got affected or impacted by something, a challenge or a life experience that helped you turn your mess into a message. You know, all of us go through challenges, you know, in life. There are times that maybe life was going very well, and then you reach that point, you hit a brick wall, and there was a mess in your life. You really got that mess, and then you turned away around and you made lemonade from your lemons. So your story should be a little bit about your business and how it serves people, how you can serve or help your audience. And the best marketers are the best storytellers. Telling your story is how your mess becomes your message. That is when something shifted. That's what your story is. It doesn't have to be long. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 1 minute. It depends on what you're telling. It could be 10 minutes. It depends. But you're telling the people, how did your mess become your message? For you as an entrepreneur, you had to learn how to become better at something. You know, you went through that journey. Let's say it was COVID time. You know, COVID came, your business closed, and during this journey, your uncomfortable actions became mastery. You know, there are people who flourished during COVID time last year. There are people who just flourished because they went through the difficulties. They had to figure out, how do I survive? And so, if you're able to tell that story, how did you survive? How did you find those strategies that were working? How can those same strategies help somebody who might be going through the same thing? Because there are people who are looking to know what you have, and you have to learn how to build that bridge. The bridge of, I came from this mess and I'm going to that other place and I want to help you cross that bridge. So that's what your story is doing. So your business signature story framework, you start by saying, who is your audience? And what is the problem you're solving? Your story is enough to help people and to help them change their lives. Because ordinary stories, of course, are better, you know. It's like starting a movement, because in every household there's a story. You know, it's easy to have a story where people can relate. That's why you hear a lot of the gurus, they don't start by, oh, today I'm very successful and I've always been successful and I was born successful. Nobody says that, you know. And if they do, they're lying. So you have to have a place. I mean, like for me, you know, when in 2011, when my job with the university ended, and I just had to figure out, how do I reach people using digital marketing strategies? I really needed to teach people how to reach people with my gardening information. And so I decided to start learning about digital marketing. And it's taken me that, you know, from 2011, I've just been learning everything I can. You know, how to create websites, how to do social media, how to market, how to give your signature story, you know, all the things that you need as an entrepreneur. So I went through that journey, but in the beginning it was really difficult because there was so much information as it is today. If you go online on Google, there is so much information, but sometimes it's to connect the dots. How do you know which dots, you know, line up with which dots, yeah? You need to be able to know, you know, for me, I had to figure out that alone and spent a lot of money taking online courses. And eventually, of course, even coming over to the TV station, learning about video, how to edit, all that has helped me to be where I am today, because then I can tell somebody, I had my mess and now I have a message. I can help you. So it's a story of relating. You have a message that is unique. Everybody has a message that is unique. And you are equipped with the tools that will help someone. And that is the reason why you need to tell your story. So every business should actually start by putting together their story. It can be verbal or it can be a video. And great stories, they show three things. One, you are ordinary. You have walked in your customer's shoes. And that's the reason I said you hear all these people. If you listen to Tony Robbins tell his story, he said, I came from a place where my mother got married 7 marriages. You know, they were moving from household to household to household. And he ran away from home when he was 17 and he had to live on his own. He had to find a way, or something similar. I'm sorry if I'm, you know, distorting his story in a way, but, you know, just a little bit like that. It's coming from a place, I was an ordinary person. Right now he's a successful guru. He's one of the most successful gurus online. But he didn't come from there. He came from ordinary roots. So all of us come from those ordinary roots. Yeah? And then the second part of your great story is that you are extraordinary. You have solved that problem they still have. Be ordinary and be extraordinary. Because like we said, you went through a journey, like I explained about Jamie Kanlima, the CEO of It Cosmetics. She said she went through her own journey of trying to discover, first, what is the cosmetic that can heal her skin condition? Two, how can she put this product in the hands of many people so that they can also be helped? And so she figured out, so she became extraordinary. All of us come from ordinary to extraordinary. You need to show your why. That is so important. That is what your customers are looking for. So your story should not read as your resume. It is not like in the year, this year I went to high school, this year I went to university, this year I went to, postgraduate. You don't need to do that. Like I said, you take a segment of your life that was very significant. It could be just as recent as 2020 during COVID time. If you're a business that managed to survive, you went down the valley and then you came out of the valley. Now you're on the hilltop. And you're telling people, if you are at the bottom of the valley, I can show you how to get to the top. So nobody cares about your resume, so don't give it out there. Just tell them your story. You want to know how you can help your audience solve their challenges. That's what your story does. Your story should not be about the most painful moments of your life. I mean, don't be melodramatic. For instance, if you had a death in the family and then a suicide and then a marriage breakdown and then, so of course those are life's events and it's okay, but you don't have to really dig in with all the horrific details unless they tie into the story. Unless they say, okay, I was depressed, I was suicidal, I didn't know what to do, I tried every strategy, I could not find a way until I learned these new strategies from somebody. And because of it, I can be able to help you today if you're going through that same challenge. So that in that way, it is tying in with why you're doing what you're doing, yeah? Because then you can tell people, would you like to have my 5-step strategy for being able coming from zero to hero, from depression to joy or happiness and something like that. So find a moment when the story changed. Like I'm saying, you can start by saying things were really bad, then they became good again. So that could be your story. They were really, really bad, then they became good again. And the best stories is where the line changed. Things were bad and then they started to change again. So that's that place where it started changing. That's the story you're telling people. Tell your audience what you felt, what you saw, and take your audience along. In fact, I was telling you when I was listening to this lady, Jamie Kanlima, when she was telling her story, really, I could feel it. She was saying the person who told her straight up to her face that she was not beautiful enough, that her products could not be sold to other people. She said he was standing like 3 feet from me. And he looked me in the eyes and he told me, can I be honest with you? Because she asked him, why didn't you take my products? And he said, because our audience will frankly not be able to buy products from somebody who looks like you or has your body image or somebody who has a body weight, your weight. So you could feel the horror and the sadness in that story. So you could relate, of course, because most of us go through body shaming. You have people who want to just shame you for your body. And so for her, she said, I went through years of therapy that I had to, anyway, so your story should take the people along and they should have that. So you take a moment in your life, make it real for the audience such that they can smell what the person smells, they can see what you saw, and they take the audience with you because they want to do business with the people that they know they can relate to. You need to have that emotional connection attached to the audience. People want to do more and to join your movement, yeah? So the storytelling model, this is what I want to tell you, is what you see, hear, or feel. You're telling the people, you're taking them along. Have you ever listened to a movie? I know you're a movie. You love movies and you love movie reviews, yeah? And you can imagine when you saw a good movie and you started telling your friend about it. Isn't it? You tell all the details of the movie, how the hero behaved, how he slayed the dragon, yeah? And all the bad guys. So you're telling that story, and the person you're telling the story is actually there with you. They're going through that the climax. They're learning. So the story has to have 3 acts. Act 1 before, the before. This is just about 45 seconds. Tell us what your life was before. So you have to have 3 specific characteristics. The second act is the pivot. When something in your life changed, maybe let's say you met someone, you've always been lonely, you're looking for this special someone, you met someone. What changed in your life? So that is 30 seconds. Let's say you started by saying, I've always been so lonely. I didn't know why I was lonely. I was looking for somebody special. And it reached a point where I just started thinking I'll never be able to be happy or even married. And that could be your beginning. And then your act 2 is that when you met somebody, so you went to this movie or you went to this event and you're standing there and you looked across and you saw that lady and your eyes locked, you know, and you met somebody. So that is your pivot. And then your third act is now and after. That's 45 seconds. What your life has become. So you're coming from this point of low, then you go through the pivot, then your life change. So that is the framework you should have in writing your story. And there are so many ways we can talk about it, of course, but because of time, we won't be going through much of that. But what I wanted to say is that, to summarize, is that take the before. Let's say you're looking at something that you really wanted and you couldn't find it, and then you found it. So let's say you had employees who did not want to work. You're an employer. Instead of having unhappy employees, you know, you couldn't figure out why your employees just wanted to waste time and just, you know, just stand alone around and not doing anything. But now you find a way to motivate your employees, and now they are happy. Your employees are happy, and therefore they are providing more outcome. You know, your business is prosperous. So your story framework is the before, the pivot, the now and after. You know, now, like I said, with Jamie's story, she was able to sell her cosmetic industry, her cosmetic business, which is 8 cosmetic, for $1.2 billion, $1.2 billion in about last year or the year before, I can't remember when. But she was able to sell it because eventually she became successful. And so it's like saying, I started here, I was struggling, I didn't know why, this was my journey, and then finally I had the breakthrough. And in fact, her breakthrough was that she was given 10 minutes on QVC, and she was able to sell her product so fast, so much of it, that they kept on calling her back and calling her back and calling her back, and then she became known. And because she's so authentic, people just love her cosmetics, and now the rest is history. Because now the big companies that were turning her down, in fact, the person who had told her that she was not beautiful enough, she hired him. 6, I don't know, maybe years later, yes, he's working for her. Isn't that a nice story? That's a karma, yeah, I tell you. You never know. So your story, people are looking to have someone to share your experience. So you understand what you'll offer. And that's why sometimes we say the story, the secret of the dot. You are not serving the 17 billion people in the world. You're only serving a segment of that people. Let's say you're serving you're serving ladies, but these are ladies who are mothers of teenagers, who are trying to figure out how to deal with their digital teenagers. So you're not serving the whole humanity of women. You're just serving that segment of mothers who want to find a business to do on the side, besides, of course, dealing with their kids' issues. So you can find a segment of a segment of a segment of the audience. So it's not everybody. So the more niched you are, the more you can be able to relate your story to those people. So as I come to end, I want to say you have a skill, a life experience. You find a super niche. You know, once you identify your dot, you can share with the audience. You know, in fact, people normally they talk about the dot or the niche. So your story helps to connect your niche to your products and your programs. So in your story, you are supplying a bridge. You identify the people who needs what you have. You know, you shorten their learning curve through your story because they can relate to it. You impact people's lives. You drive people from your bridge to where you can offer a transformation for them. Because often when we have this framework where we saw is the story, teach, action, or hook, story, offer. Anytime you're talking to people, you have a hook. Like I said, today we are going to be talking about how you can craft your business signature story. And the reason that is important is because your story connects you to your audience. So you as a business person, if you wanted to learn how to create your own story, that's a hook. And then in the story, I'm saying this is the framework for how to craft your signature story. And these are the people who have done that and they are successful. That's my story. And then my offer is, hey, would you like me to help you? This is me and Gachuhi with the Exponential Digital Trainers. And I actually work with people who, businesses that want to, of course, be able to have those breakthroughs. And I'll be able to help you. And the only way you can get to me, I have a 30 minutes free strategy session that you can sign up on my website, which is the Exponential Digital Trainers. And when you go there, you'll be able to get those 30 minutes complimentary session, and we can talk about your business and how I can help you with your signature story. And that's where we stop.